Hello people of the YouTube world and all who are watching this. I am Mackenzie901K and let me just give you the rundown about what's happening. So this video was originally supposed to be a reset and then it got turned into, because I had so much footage between me doing an unhaul and me doing a book reorganization video. I had so much footage, so then it got cut down to just being a book unhaul, but the reorganization video will be up on Friday. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing a very huge book unhaul. Like, I'm telling you, this book unhaul is massive. It's definitely one of the biggest book unhauls I've ever done. I probably have unhauled at least 40 books and it was much needed. I definitely feel much lighter now since going through and unhauling all of these books. I also, really quick before we get into the video, I wanted to just quickly state I'm unhauling quite a few books. If I'm unhauling some of your favorite books, I am so sorry, but these are mostly books that I have decided to unhaul because either one, they've been sitting on my shelves for a long time and I've never read them, or two, it's because I just didn't unfortunately love them and they were not for me. But if any of you guys are interested in reading any of these books and haven't yet, I don't want to sway you from potentially not picking up one of your potential favorite books. Take what I say in this video about these books with a grain of salt, because I am just one booktuber. You know, I may have a different opinion about a certain book than you do. Also, if you guys want to shop any of these books, if y'all are looking to getting your hands on any of these books that I am mentioning in today's video, my Pango will be linked down below. I will be adding them probably pretty frequently after I get this video up. They may not be there yet. Just keep checking the Pango. They should be up sometime probably in the 24-hour time period of this video being up. So yeah, without any further ado though, let's go ahead and let's jump right on into the video. So I did just pull some books off the shelves because I'm overwhelmed. I think I'm going to have to take this bit by bit because there's still more that I fear that I may need to get rid of, and these are definitely not all of them. Off the romance shelf, I pulled off 3 books. I think maybe there's more. Excuse me. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I've just seen so many people say that this book is nothing but like smut. If I read a book, I'm not typically a smut reader. I don't read books for smut, so this book's probably not going to be for me. Honestly, this was one of those books that I just bought because everybody was buying it. That, and I am still avidly trying to find an Ali Hazelwood book that I actually like. I almost thought about getting rid of Bride. Maybe potentially one day I will have the strength to get rid of The Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain, because those are 2 of my least favorite Ali Hazelwood books. I have not read Love Theoretically or Bride, but I also am planning on reading Deep End as well. This is not staying here. And then I am getting rid of Love Redesigned. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Love Redesigned. I tried to read this book. I think I got maybe 100 pages in. I don't know what it is about Lauren Asher. The first time I go through and I read a Lauren Asher book, it's like I hate the book. I despise the book. And then I turn around and I later on read the same exact Lauren Asher book and I absolutely love it, and that has been my experience with The Fine Print and Throttled. I hated both of those books when I read them. I DNF'd them and then I picked them up like a year or so down the line and I absolutely loved them, but this I don't think that I will really ever love. I think that this is following, they're like interior designers or something like that. That just does not sound like my cup of tea either. I don't think I'm going to want to read this at all, period. Lauren Asher is probably not a romance author for me, so I'm going to, before I buy any more Lauren Asher books, I'm going to try and finish is it called the Dreamland Billionaires series? Because I'm not completely finished with that one. I think I maybe got about halfway through Terms and Conditions, which is the second book in that series. I did DNF that book too. So we'll see if I ever get through the Dreamland Billionaires series. If I do, then I will eventually pick up another Lauren Asher book. But that day is not today. And then I am, the rest of these are fantasy. The first thing I'm getting rid of is I'm getting rid of an author, period. That is Danielle L. Jensen. I don't know what it is, but I cannot get into Danielle L. Jensen's work. I don't love her characters. I read The Bridge Kingdom last year. I did not love this book. I don't understand why. I still could not tell you why, other than I think it was a character issue, because this book had every single element of things that I genuinely like in a fantasy book, especially in a romantasy, but this just did not hit for me. I did not want to read this. When I started this, it put me in a book slump because I didn't want to pick it up. I'm getting rid of this, and I'm also getting rid of the second book. If anything, I'm also getting rid of these books because I don't really love these covers. These are the indie published editions. I personally really love the new editions that have come out. I think that they are super duper cute, so I like those better. These not so much, and I think the rest of the series also is coming out in those same covers, so I don't see the reason of me keeping these. Oh my god, I have a bookmark in here. Don't want to give that away. And then we have A Fate Inked in Blood. I don't even know. I should have looked. I got about halfway through this book and I just was not loving it either. Again, I think it's a character issue. I think I don't like Danielle L. Jensen's character builds. This one was inspired by Norse mythology, which is something that I love. My fiance and I, we frequently talk about Norse mythology. He's a huge Norse mythology guy. We could talk about the Vikings and things like that for so long. Why I didn't love this book, I don't know. I DNF'd it about halfway through last year and I just could not do it. So I am deciding to get rid of this as well. This is the edition, like the first print run, where it has the beautiful metallic sprayed edges. I just think that overall Danielle L. Jensen is not for me, which I guess is okay. Then we are getting rid of my indie published edition of Spark of the Everflame. I really did like this book. I did not love it enough to now go and scour the internet to try to find the rest of the books in the indie published editions. I do want to continue this series. I know I do want to finish it, but I will be collecting the traditionally published editions from here on out. I am unfortunately getting rid of that indie published edition. And then I'm getting rid of another indie published book, and that is Thrown in the Dark. Katie, I'm so sorry. I feel like I have to give Katie an apology every single time I pick up this book and talk about it because she loves this book and this book was just not for me. Again, I think for me this was a character issue and a plot, well, not really a plot issue because I did really enjoy the plot, but I think this was a character issue for me. I really did not love our characters. I didn't get attached to them. If I cannot get attached to any characters in a book, honestly, at that point there is no point in me reading it because what's the point? I'm not going to be continuing the series. If, and Katie, if you're watching this, which I think you probably are, I'm not trying to give you hope here, but if I decide to continue the series, then that's a big if. I can just continue it on Kindle Unlimited because all of these books are on Kindle Unlimited. For now, I'm getting rid of that. Then we have my paperback copy of Divine Rivals. Then we have my paperback copy of Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I don't love this series enough to have so many copies. I remember buying this book. I remember when I bought this book and I'm trying to film. I remember when I bought this book was not in the hype at all. And I just remember how pretty this cover was. But now I've got the hardcovers up there and I don't really see the point in me keeping this because I'm not ever going to buy the other paperback. I should say this. This is the UK edition. This is the UK standard paperback of this book. I love Kit and Iris. I love them so much. I think they're so cute. Next up, we have The Thief. This book, I don't know anything about this book. I picked this book up on a whim. This was recommended by Victoria Aveyard, I believe. Victoria Aveyard, while I appreciate her, she's not really my favorite author. I really have never been able to get into any of Victoria Aveyard's books, and I do own the whole Red Queen series. I've yet to fully complete the Red Queen series. That's so embarrassing. I've tried to read Red Queen twice and I've never been able to get into it. Maybe this year we will at least attempt to finish Red Queen and go from there. I bought this in spirit of Victoria Aveyard, I guess. I bought this because she had said that this was one of her favorite books on, I believe, like her Instagram or something like that. I don't really see myself ever reading this. I've never really, since buying it, had the gumption or the motivation to pick this up. So bye-bye. And then we have The Traitor's Kingdom. This is the third book in this series. I did not know that this was a third book in a series, but according to the back of this, and the reason that I bought this is because it describes this, the blurb on the back of this, I should say, describes this as a PG-13 Game of Thrones. And I've always been interested in Game of Thrones, sorta. So I thought that that would be really interesting, but little did I know that this is the third book in this series. So I don't know that I will ever pick up this series, so I'm deciding to move on from that one as well. Then we have Heavenly Bodies. This was a book that I read last year. I really actually enjoyed Heavenly Bodies. I really enjoyed it, actually, I should say. But then I tried to read the second book in this series. There was something that went down in the second book that I really just could not get past. So I'm deciding to get rid of Heavenly Bodies because I don't think I'll ever get past that part in the second book. So we're gonna get rid of this one as well. Although I would have loved to continue this series, and you know, maybe one day, maybe I will look past that and I'll be able to continue this series. But for right now, I don't really want to keep this. It's just kind of taking up room on my shelves, which could be a spot for another book. Then next up we have Red Rising. I'm getting rid of this book. I know I've owned this book for a very long time, and I've had a few friends read this, and I've gotten some very mixed reviews of Red Rising. I'm not really a sci-fi person. I know I say that, and I watch Star Wars, and I just started reading Skyward recently. Star Wars to me is more fantasy, and Skyward is young adult, so I feel like they are both more digestible than this will be. And then also it's the fact that Destiny Sidwell also says that she has no idea what she would rate this book, and I still think that she has no idea what she would rate this book today. I just don't think I need to try to figure out a rating for that either. So then next up we have The Last Magician. This is a book that I've seen a few people talk about, and it seems interesting enough, but I don't know that I'll ever pick it up. I don't even remember now who I've seen talk about this. Maybe Cass? Cass sounds right, but I don't know. I don't know what this is about either. I had originally looked up a synopsis. I figured it out. I bought the book. I'm no longer going to be keeping this. Maybe in the future, if I do rediscover this book, I can just pick up a copy from the library. But right now, that book's not in the cards for me. And then I'm also going to be getting rid of my copy of Inkblood Sister Scribe. I picked this up last year for one of Katie's book club picks. Same as the rest of them. I never read it. Well, no, I read a few pages of this and I didn't like it. I just really didn't like it. It didn't really interest me. The only thing I can remember about this is it's about two sisters. Not going to be continuing this. Not going to be ever picking this back up again probably. I think that it needs to go to a new home. That's not really all the books I have to unhaul either, but that's just the ones I've pulled off the shelves right now. So I'm going to go pull some more, and then we're going to come back and talk about the rest of them because I do have a few more that I need to get rid of. I'm going to go get the rest of the books so that way we can do the unhaul, or the rest of the unhaul, and I will be back in just a second. I did grab some special editions as well that I'm going to be unhauling. So I do have 4 special editions here. Quickly, the first one, A River Enchanted. I tried to read this book a couple of years ago. I didn't really love it. Was not for me. So I am going to be giving this to another home as well. Also, I do have What Lies Beyond the Veil on here. Not really sure that I ever want to read this. I think I bought this on Pango a couple of years ago as well. Never gonna read it. And then we have 2 editions of Sleep Like Death. This is the Fairy Loot edition, and then this is the Owl Crate. I think it's Owl Crate is where I got this, maybe. But I do have both of these editions of Sleep Like Death. I'm probably never going to read it. I've never had interest in Cinderella is Dead before. I'm not a big retelling person. I will read a retelling from time to time, so I do think that I want to most definitely get rid of these just because I've never really been interested. Okay, so final little bit of books for the unhaul. I have a stack here and a stack here. On this stack, we first have Stranger the Dreamer by Lonnie Taylor. This is the UK paperback. I'm kind of on the fence about this one because I recently bought the hardcover editions for this series, but if I like the series enough, I do like these covers as well. I might keep this. I don't know. We'll see. Then we have a little graphic novel. This is one of the Babysitter's Club graphic novels. I'm probably never going to read this. I bought this purely for nostalgic purposes, so I'm getting rid of that. Then we have the indie published edition of When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. I think this speaks for itself. I'm not really sure that I'm going to love this series, so I don't want to have multiple copies of the series. This is an indie published edition. This book is now traditionally published. There will be no indie published books to match this. Then we have What the River Knows. This book I tried to read because of Lauren Roberts. A few years ago, Lauren had posted a TikTok about this book saying that she really loved this book. Well, saying that she quite enjoyed this book. This book was not for me. I think I got about halfway through this and DNF'd it. It was just not it. Again, I think it was a character issue. And then going along that same theme of books I bought because of my favorite author, Lauren Roberts, we have Dance of Thieves and Val of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I'm not going to be keeping these. I also have The Kiss of Deception, which takes place in this world. I'm not getting rid of it. I'm getting rid of these though because I finally finished Dance of Thieves a couple of years ago, last year. I don't know. I didn't like it. I'm not going to be continuing the series. I know there's just one more book, but I don't think that I'm going to like it enough, and I didn't really care about our characters enough to continue it. Then we have 3 Christmas books that I'm getting rid of. We have first All I Want for Christmas, then we have the Christmas Fix, then we have So This Is Christmas. I'm not a Christmas book girl. I never really have been, so me keeping these is pointless. I've had this one for 3 years, this one for 2 years, and this one for 2 years. I'm never gonna pick them up. And then we also have my copy of Twilight. I'm getting rid of this because I did buy the hardcover editions of Twilight, and those I definitely want to read more than this. So we're getting rid of this. I honestly thought about just donating this to a library or something, but this might make an appearance on my Pango. It might not, we'll see, but I just don't want it. And I have no use for it as well. Then we have 3 Lucy score books that I'm going to be getting rid of. I went through a Lucy score buying phase where I bought every single, well, not every single, but most of them, book that Lucy Score had been re-releasing. I'm never going to read any of these. So we have here The Worst Best Man, which I've heard is good, but I don't think I'm going to read it. And then we have Finally Mine and Pretend You're Mine. And then we have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I believe that I originally bought this book, 1, because it's a summer book and I do love to read books in the summertime, but I 2 bought this book because it had been described to me as Love in Other Words in a different font. I read Love in Other Words. I'm not a big Love in Other Words fan. I bought this prior to me reading it. I don't really foresee myself ever reading it. Then I am finally deciding to part ways with my Twin Crowns books that I own. There's 3 books in this series. I only own 2 of them. When I originally read Twin Crowns, I loved it. I thought that it was such a fun book. I was a bit younger, so my reading taste since reading these has definitely changed quite dramatically. But when I read this one, this book kind of took a turn with a couple of characters that I don't really know how I feel. A lot of people like it. I don't really know that I like it, so I just don't want to continue this series to see what happens. So I am parting ways with these as well. I don't think I will ever read the 3rd one, to be honest. Then we have To Kill a Kingdom. This is probably one of the oldest books in my book collection that I have. I bought this when I bought From Blood and Ash. I since got rid of From Blood and Ash quite a bit ago now. I do still own this just because when I had read this, I had read Daughter of a Pirate King and Daughter of a Siren Queen, and those were, if you don't know, those were the books that got me back into reading. So I heard that this was about like a pirate-esque situation, and I do remember trying to read this book and not really loving it. I should have gotten rid of this book honestly a long time ago, but Rachel Catherine, I think she read this last year, and I thought that that maybe was going to pique my interest again in this book because I believe that she really liked it, but I still haven't picked it up, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and part ways with it. Again, if I want to read this book in the future, then I can just always pick it up from the library. Then we have my copy of Wren in the Holly Library. This was a book that I believe I bought it because it was like a it's a Red Tower book, I know for sure, and it's got like the pretty sprayed edges and whatnot. I also got this book I think the next month in a fairy loot box, so I have 2 copies of this. I've never read this book, so I don't need 2 copies of it. I don't really know how I'm gonna feel about it, so we're getting rid of this as well. Then I'm getting rid of my paperback edition of Once Upon a Broken Heart and my hardcover of The Ballad of Never After. These are in the Barnes & Noble exclusive editions. I've never been able to get my hands on the matching Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of this book, so I decided not to try to get it. I don't think I'll ever be able to get my hands on the Once Upon a Broken Heart Barnes & Noble cover in hardcover, which I do still have my A Curse for True Love, the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition hardcover. I'm gonna keep that because that one's got a special dust jacket on it now, and I've tried to also look to see if I can get those dust jackets, and they are ridiculously expensive, so we're not gonna do that. I think I'm just gonna part ways because I'm never gonna collect them in this, and I'm never gonna collect them in this, so you know. Then we have The Scarlet Alchemist. This is a book that I got in one of my Fairy Loot boxes. Again, it's never really piqued my interest. I don't really know what this book is about. I've looked into it before, but I couldn't really figure it out. I didn't really ever feel the need to pick this up, even though it is a really pretty, like, exclusive edition. Like, it's got the gold foiling on the front, things like that. I just don't see myself ever really reading this. Going along the lines of exclusive editions, I am also getting rid of one more exclusive edition, and that is The Bonesmith. I've heard really good things about this book, but I've heard it described as, well, the main character specifically, described as Selena, who is the main character in Throne of Glass, and I don't know yet if I'm attached enough to Selena to read a book based on that, so I'm deciding to get rid of this. And it's also been described as like a Gideon in the Ninth style book, and I don't know if Gideon in the Ninth will ever be for me either. This book really does not interest me at all, even though again it's a really pretty exclusive edition. I don't think it's a book that's for me. Then the last 3 books that we have here are all just standard American hardbacks. The first one is A Tempest in Tea. I still have my Fairy Loot edition of A Tempest in Tea. I don't really think that there's any reason for me to keep this, so I'm deciding to part ways with it. Then we have Lord of the Wilds. I did not really love this book when I read it back last year, and I'm also not continuing the series, and I also have an exclusive edition of this from Fairy Loot, so I just don't really see the point in me keeping this. And then we have my Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. This is Chloe Gong's first first adult fantasy, I believe. I don't really see myself continuing this series either. I read it a couple years ago and I didn't love it. That was my whole unhaul. Those are all of the books that I am now getting rid of. So if you guys want to again purchase any of these books, they will be in my Pango. My Pango will be linked down in the description. And yeah, that is it for today's video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it, but be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It helps out the channel and makes my heart smile. Also be sure to tap that subscribe button as well as that post notification bell. We try to upload around here every Monday and Friday, but that does not always happen, so make sure that you have that post notification bell turned on so you will be notified right when I upload a video. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys on Friday for a book reorganization video. Bye bye.